I'm Parker Sutherland. I'm one of the student pastors here at Academy Christian. And I just want to say, I miss you guys so much, especially our students that we're used to encountering each and every week in person. It's definitely been a trying time for all of us here. And I know none of us expected 2020 to be what it was. Usually when you're going into a new year, you have these resolutions and you have this hopefulness of what is the future. None of us could have guessed what 2020 would hold in our future. And that's always the way with how the world changes. None of us fully predict what's going on or what will happen in the near future. And the thing is, people don't really like change. I don't like this change currently. This has not been a fun experience for me, but sometimes change is necessary and good. Mark Twain said, "The only person who likes change is a wet baby." And continuing with the world shifts all the time and changes all the time. And we can't predict the future. Somebody wrote a memo in the management of the Western Union Telegraph Company in 1876 and said, "The telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. It has no value to us." In 1895, the British scientist Lord Kelvin told the Royal Society of Science, "Heavier than air flying machines are impossible." One of the Warner Brothers movie studios in the Day of Silent Film said in 1927, "Who in the world wants to hear actors talk?" You see, change is a part of our world. Change is something we can't predict. And this time of coronavirus has definitely been a change no one expected. I had a huge change in my life a couple years ago. I got a call from my mom. I was in Indiana at the time. My parents were in Missouri. And she said I really needed to drive over there that night. My dad was in the hospital and he was getting taken care of, but she just needed to sleep and somebody to watch over him. And so I watched over him, and in the morning, something I never expected happened. My dad had a medically induced stroke, and it changed everything. It threw my whole world into chaos, not even knowing if he was going to live, if he was going to be the same coming out of it. And there was definitely change involved with that. And with that incident, there was one verse that really was able to keep me calm, to keep me balanced, and to keep me having a good perspective of change. And it was this, Hebrews 13, verse 8. And it says this, it's something so simple, but something we forget all the time. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. You see, in the midst of this coronavirus, in the midst of change, Jesus is still the same Jesus who put himself on a cross so that we might have new life. God is the same God who created the entire universe and has the world in his hands. No matter the change, no matter what's happening in the world today, Jesus is the same. And there was peace and hope in that message for me. In the midst of chaos with my family, I continued to look to that unchanging hope that Jesus loved me, that he cared for me, and that the world was in his hands. I think during this time of coronavirus and all the craziness of things that are happening, aren't happening, we need to turn back to this truth and who Jesus is. Who is Jesus to you? During this time of coronavirus, what has changed? And how has Jesus stayed the same throughout all of it? When you turn to this hope that exists for all time, it's easy to manage the change. When you know that Jesus is in control, he loves you, and that he's there for you. Awesome God, thank you for the unchanging hope of who Jesus Christ is, of how he came to die on our behalf, that he loved us, and that you love us. God, in the midst of all this change and chaos, God, help us to grow. Help us to lean into your unchanging hope. and help us to be made better throughout it. In your name, amen. I look forward to seeing you the next time, ACC family. Have a blessed week.